91.7 FM in St. Paul. We're super excited to have in studio Unstable Shapes. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you guys, and if I have each of the three of you introduce yourself and each of you tell me how you first got into music.
Hey, I'm James. I play drums. I played music in school, so I did drums in like middle school, and then started playing drum set in high school, and then playing my first bands after that.
We're like in the school bands and all that?
I was in school band.
Nice.
Yeah, I did marching band and all that.
Oh,
jazz band.
Marching band with the drums, so that's like bigger than walking and chewing gum.
Oh man, football games, all that stuff.
That would be very fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Oh, all right.
Hey, I'm Mitch. I play guitar. I started playing when I was 12 or 13, I think. My stepdad bought me a guitar, and yeah, I've been playing ever since.
Nice. Why did your step, was he a musician? Did he play?
He just liked music. We liked music together. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing to do.
He was into cool stuff when I was a kid.
Nice.
I'm Ryan. I also play guitar. I think I actually started playing French horn in middle school, and then I think I bought a guitar in 8th grade, maybe something like that. And I was in bands in like late high school and early college, but been a long break between the end of that and then joining these guys.
Well, how did you decide on the French horn to begin with?
It was one of those things where you like show up and they like let you try out all the instruments.
Yeah.
Like, that was the one. So, but yeah, that was kind of the first like actually playing music.
That is when, as a parent, you're like, no tuba, no tuba,
Oh, yeah.
no tuba.
Yeah.
I forgot I played trumpet too as a kid. Yeah.
Fun fact about Ryan, he was once in a ska band.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a huge ska fan.
Yeah.
I have seen
A
so
moderately
many.
successful ska band.
Yeah, like Wisconsin and Minnesota.
But you didn't play.
Well, tell us some more about it. Yeah, now that we've.
I did not play.
You weren't the French horn.
I did not play French horn in the ska band. No, we had.
That would have
I
been.
sang in that band, but yeah.
How did you get into ska music? Just literally heard it and liked it?
Yeah, I mean, 97 was great.
It was a good year.
The one year that ska was there. Yeah. Now, granted, this band was like 2003 to 2007 or so, kind of missed the boat on a lot of stuff.
You were a bit late on it.
Yeah, a bit late, but it was still fun. So.
And this is Mitch's first band?
Yeah, this is my first band.
Love it.
All right, so now tell us about the band and how you guys got together. That's a good segue. Thanks, James.
Ryan and I have been friends for a long time, and our singer, Andrew Sahak, the three of us have been friends for like a decade plus.
Yep.
And we kind of joked about starting a band.
Yeah, we were at a show, and then like the next week, Andy was like, "Let's meet up and talk about this for real."
Let's actually do it.
Yeah. So
That sounds like Andy.
yeah.
And we're like, okay, I guess, sure.
And then
Not expecting a lot, I think.
right. But then we met a couple times, just the three of us, I should say, in Mitch's former home.
Yep.
And then Andy knew Kevin, our bassist, from various kind of shows and stuff before, and we brought him in. This is like late 2019.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, this is all pre-pandemic stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And then we got together. We wrote one song, kind of completed one song with just no drummer, but and then kind of had the second one like half done, and then the pandemic hit, and we're kind of took a break.
Yep. A very long break.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I've talked to at least 2 or 3 musicians who've gone through that. It seems that either that's when you go all in or you go all out. It sounds like you guys kind of went all out or just all in a more internal, different direction for those 2 years or whatever.
My wife was pregnant.
Of all the people I felt for,
yeah,
she was number one at that time.
Yeah, we didn't really take any chances, like
no
or anything.
Yeah.
And then I had a baby, my daughter Quinn, and she was born
Nice.
early, so I was especially not going to take any risks.
Oh,
But then in like June of 2021.
Yep.
Like after everybody
Yeah.
got vaccinated. and
Yeah,
started
we didn't
doing
all get
stuff
together
again.
until then.
Yeah. Then we started meeting up. That's when we met James.
Yeah, and so Andy has this podcast about new metal actually called Life Was Peachy, and I think it was Andy Holmes, a buddy of his, that got him James's information, and then isn't that how you?
Yeah, he had, and it was funny because we got done doing the podcast, and he was like, "Hey, I have a band," and I was like, "Cool, man." And he's like, "And we're looking for a drummer." I was like, "Oh, cool." Like, he's like, "I have a playlist I can send you of like bands that are like a mood board or like things we're into." He's like, "Check it out," and so he did, and I listened to it. I was like, "Oh man, this is like a lot of cool stuff." And then he sent me. He's like, "Well, we have like one song that's like mostly done." I was like, "Okay, we'll send it over." And immediately, like, I knew what the drums would sound like. And I texted him back. I was like, "Yeah, we can do this, man. Like, let's do it." And then, yeah, like Mitch said, at that point it was still like pretty. I don't think everyone was vaccinated yet. And then it was almost like as soon as we were.
Yeah.
And then even then it was like a year of being masked in the practice room.
Yep.
Trying to write songs, and
there were several long breaks when like everybody would get sick eventually, and
yeah. So that like the first year or even two of the band was very much like stops and starts, right? Because people would be sick or like cases would be high, so then we'd just like stop practicing. Because again, like Quinn was little, and we just So it's funny because it seems like we've been a band for so long at this point now.
Yeah.
With the record like
There
just
are
coming out.
a lot of pauses. Yeah.
And then like the first song that first song that we wrote, the first riffs that they sent me, that's like the most recent single we just released, Kissinger, which is the first song on the record as well.
Yeah. But I remember as soon as Andy got done talking to James for the podcast, he called me like right away. He's like, "I found him."
Oh, nice.
I'm like,
Swipe
we
right.
talked for like an hour, and it was like, okay. It's like, all right, well,
That's so
send him
funny.
everything.
if I recall correctly, he said, "I think I just met a friend for life."
Oh, that is sweet.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, it must be nice when you're in a band, forming a band, to have that happen. Because I'm sure there's some where you're like, maybe.
Oh yeah. Probably.
And some are like, ooh. Then like,
I mean, beyond even making music, which can be like a vulnerable experience, like just being adult men, like meeting strangers and becoming friends and learning to like take criticism from someone that you barely know, and you're like, "Oh, I don't really like that guitar riff," and it's like, I don't know, just navigating that, like getting to know each other period.
yeah.
We're like, we all love each other and thick as thieves, but like those first, when you're not, I mean, like you guys were friends for 10 years, like you said,
Yeah.
but like when you're not all super close buds, and then even then, like being friends with someone is one thing, but then like, creating together is a whole different thing.
Well, I think
right?
also like not being able to see each other's faces while we're like getting to know everybody. Because we were wearing masks.
Totally,
back
like,
then.
not being
man,
able to
yeah.
tell, like, if someone is, like,
I don't know how to read.
having a good time or being sarcastic
Right.
or, like, I don't know. It's just, it was interesting navigating all of that.
Well,
We did it. We made
We
it.
did it.
Yay!
Yeah.
You must have to be, what I would say is brutally honest for a Minnesotan. People can't, I mean, you can see the eye roll, but you can't see the, because I
Yeah.
think that often we're too subtle by half.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to create art, you want to be understood.
Yeah.
I mean, usually I think if you're Minnesota, you're like, I don't know, do I care enough to really tell them?
Yeah, I'm not from here, so I have no problems telling people how I feel.
Mitch is pretty good about telling people how he feels too. So.
Yeah. Thankfully,
To a fault.
we navigate it well. But it is like, it's a vulnerable experience, like trying to like, and it's not like a songwriter driven band in the sense that like a main person comes with like a whole song and then says, okay, everyone learn their parts. Like we're coming with riffs and like trying to make things work. Like I have this thing, and so like I have this riff. Is it in this key? Can we make it all? Yeah, it's a much different process.
Yeah. I think a lot of times too, like especially with us having two guitars, a lot of times, you know, Mitch will come with something kind of, you know, 3 or 4 pieces or licks to string together, and then it ends up being like James and Kevin will kind of finalize the structure of the song, and then we'll just like record a demo of it, and then I'll just take it home and play with it for a couple weeks until I get my, you know, part figured out, and then I'll bring it back. So yeah, it is kind of, it's interesting. I mean, I think there's maybe like one song where there was like Mitch brought it and was like, here we go, here's everything.
There were a couple.
Yeah, or at least like you had maybe not recorded, but you had the vision of what you wanted. So yeah, so it's definitely been, and like Kevin and I have come with things too, and it's yeah, it's been kind of, yeah, it ends up morphing into something that you never intend it to be, which is, you know, what's really cool about having 5 minds together creatively. So
Yeah, let's play something.
I was gonna say, what would you
Yeah.
like to play? I mean, you mentioned Kissinger,
Let's
so we
listen-
could
yeah,
lean
let's
into
do-
that one.
Yeah, let's do Kissinger.
Okay, Kissinger by Unstable Shapes, who are in studio.
I found the video that I took
Okay.
when I first came up with it. The other day after.
We're just gonna have you talk because it worked, you know, before the radio show started. We're gonna take care of a technical difficulty. Oh no, we've got it. There we go.
there
I was like,
So you're
I
gonna be
swear to
able
God, it just works.
Yeah.
to cue up that
So I
sound.
wonder how.
You said you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta think you can
Unless-
hit.
So the
we
red
must have
light,
to
that means
close
that we're
this
not
every
live.
time.
We are not. Those
Oh,
mics
maybe.
are not live. Just
I
their
don't know.
line.
Okay. Yeah, no, I found a video recently because when I first started like.
Oh no, that's
I would like write a tab of it,
Mhm.
and then like would
okay.
have my phone's camera like pointed at it,
Yeah,
and
I
then
remember
play in the
this.
background so I could like remember it. And I found the one for the beginning of this. I was gonna send it to you guys for like the day we put it out, and I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send it later. It's funny. It's not good.
I just said let's remember to take a picture at the end. Usually do that
Oh,
before
sure.
we start, which means that there's no chance I'm going to remember this at the end, but that even a big
Yeah, there you go.
What's the next song on the record after this?
Blast.
Do you want to just let it play through the next song and then
Sure.
we'll jump on? Because Blast Ladder was also a single too.
okay.
So the third
Yeah.
song is-
If that's possible. Well, yeah, I don't know. Just to play a little bit more music. Let people hear it so they can come
Yeah,
to
well,
our
yeah.
show.
No, that's exactly. I mean, we'll make it look smooth.
Yeah.
Also, I hear people on the current script all the time. There's nothing that brings me more joy than 20
Oh,
seconds of
yeah,
silence.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, those people get paid.
Did you send the sample yet? Is that where we're playing this from?
That's what I said. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it sounds kind of teeny, but it's probably just that.
I mean, it could. That
No, it
was-
just comes out.
Okay.
Is anything coming out of there? I don't think.
No, but I thought like when you were having the issues
No,
earlier,
it
I thought
always
I heard
just.
something
I think
crackling
that's
back
just
here,
for
but-
show.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, I'm always here, so I don't, and I'm not. But it.
It always been perfect.
Are you're streaming it live?
Yeah.
Still? So even this is.
So you any F bombs you want now?
No.
Here's the time, baby.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh. There have been times where I've had to say, "You're still on here.
Gotcha.
Don't give your bank account number."
So how long have you been doing this?
You know what's funny? Since before COVID. I mean, so I suppose like 8 years.
Oh wow.
I don't-
That's
yeah.
pretty
Well, and I was thinking if your daughter's born in like 2020 or 2020, she's 5 years old. I mean, I mean, it seems like
Well,
it
in
was
August,
so. Yeah. I mean, it seems like a long time ago, and it doesn't until you look at a 5-year-old and go, "Oh, that's how long it's been."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's mostly students who are on air, and then you have a show.
Yeah, I think on the weekends they are open to having community people. So
Right.
there was a guy who did a show either often right before or after me, Jason Marty, blasts, beats, and bikes.
Nice.
He loved heavy metal and cycling. He would have interviews and he had all his questions. He was amazing. I was like, well, that's not how I'm going to do it. But he'll still every now and again send me songs for the theme, and he was just a great, great guy. But I think he had been doing it for, you got it?
Mhm.
He'd been doing it for a number of years already, and there was a time when just a shock of shocks, nothing worked. You know, especially kind of post-COVID, and you'd have to come in your masks, and maybe one mic wouldn't work. It's college
Sure.
radio, and it's
Yep.
not, you know, from the school where Kofi Annan graduated. The college radio is not their top concern, which.
And then during the week, it's all students.
Yeah,
shows.
I think there are a couple of teachers that do something, and I don't.
Oh, fun. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's fun because I can see what you have to log everything in this spot. It's Spinatron,
Right.
not Spotify, Spinatron. So I can see what somebody has done. You know, Steely Dan, Steely Dan, Steely Dan. We're like, that is so funny.
Well, that's when you need a bathroom break. You just play the whole
Well, that's-
side of a record.
That's when I go for a little Alpha Consumer or some
Yeah.
some low. Now the woman who follows us, well, she's a college student, so I think it's just whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And whoever has the show, the person who has the show before, it wasn't here when we got here. It's very loosey goosey.
So if someone's not here, what's on air then?
They do Auditron. So if no one's here, we'll just do this, and then it's
It's just pulling.
just recorded.
Yeah.
For a while, it would be the same speed every time I was done. It must be the same thing every week.
Okay.
I put it in, I'm like, oh, there's Fauci's voice. I can hear the report from last. You know, it's just, or you all of a sudden,
Oh, so
it's like
news.
Groundhog Day. You every time,
Got
then
it.
every Sunday you're done at 4:00, and you're like, there it is again.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it was Presidents of the United States, like, oh, peaches. Oh, yeah. I seem to hear that a lot more now.
When did we? This was one of the latest songs we wrote, huh? Second batch. I always think of it as like a second half of the songs we wrote.
I feel like we wrote it right before we started playing shows.
Right. Yeah. Well, that Bones.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Bone. Oh, right before we started playing shows.
Yeah.
Like,
So how many songs did we have when we started playing shows?
We played like 7 or 8. 7.
So
Probably.
as soon as we had 7 songs, we played the show, right? Is that
That's
kind of what
what
happened? Yeah. As soon as we were like, all right, we have enough songs to play a show.
Yeah.
we played a cover too the first couple shows.
For many shows we did.
I don't think we did that first show there.
It's class time.
I remember doing it at White Squirrel for sure, the second show.
Sawhawk has it written down somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did we do? But we played this the first show.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the newest song at the time. Yeah.
So this has been a song since we started playing shows.
Well, I first came up with this on September 30th of the year before we started playing it.
Man, that is a
Because we called it
level.
9:30 for a long time. Because I just like put it.
Oh yeah, we did call it
9:30,
9:30.
or
Forgot.
whatever.
Forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of former song
There's
names.
a lot of former song names. You're right.
Yeah.
That is Glass Ladder by Unstable Shapes on Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 FM in St. Paul. And we are delighted to have 3 of the members of Unstable Shapes in studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about those. I mean, you told us a little bit about Kissinger before, but just tell us about you guys were talking about it, so I'm like, tell us about the first stage and second stage. But for folks who weren't listening in in studio, but we're listening on the radio. Tell us a little bit about those 2 songs and the.
Sure. Yeah, the first one was like the first good song that we wrote. The first song that we didn't scrap. You know, there were like snippets and fragments of ideas that we tried to make into something that we gave up on eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the second one, Glass Ladder, I bought a cheap bass guitar just to like mess around with, and I came up with that bass riff, and then fleshed it out and put like GarageBand drums over it. I don't know what I was doing, and I sent it to the guys, and they all thought it was cool, and then made it sound much better than it initially did.
This is the one that I referenced earlier. Like, this is the one that was kind of like, here's a done product. Let's, you know, put your spin on everything, but this is basically the song.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones where you had it all sort of thought out. And then you were saying you think that was the last one we wrote before we started playing shows?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you spoke a little bit about this while we were listening to music, when do you decide you're ready to play out?
Well, I never was ready to play
That's fair.
I mean, I think it was as soon as we were saying earlier, like, I think it was as soon as we had enough songs to play a show. I mean, it's like, it's fun going to the practice room every week or every other week and just, you know, hanging out and like making music. But I mean, I think we all enjoy the playing live part of it as well. Like, that's part of why the appeal of doing it, I guess. So yeah, it was very much as soon as we knew we had 30 minutes to play a show, we were gonna play a show.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. That was my first show.
It was your first time being on stage.
I don't think that I looked up at all.
That's.
I don't mean this to, like, you know, that loading in at the 331. We were getting on stage and I had my drums set up.
I had no idea what I was.
You said to me, James, where do I put my amp? And I was like, man, I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know. This is my first time playing 331. Like, I don't know where you need to put your stuff, man. But I
figured it out.
You figured out a lot about playing shows and the whole game. Yeah, that's fun.
But yeah, I mean, that was my first time playing. I played backup acoustic guitar for my friend Sean's band in college to like 4 people. My friend Sean makes cool music. He goes by Night Audit. It's like synthwave stuff.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
from
so
Minnesota.
Good. Okay, I was like, all right, I'll write that down.
But yeah, it was Andrew's first time singing on stage, probably.
Unless it was karaoke, yeah.
Yeah, other than karaoke, it was your first time playing guitar in a band on stage, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kevin and James were pros by then.
Yeah, we'd both been in a bunch of bands. Sawhawk had been on stage. He did stand-up comedy for years, which he loves to remind us that, you know, he said something really funny the other day. He goes, I was a stand-up comic, James. I was like, oh, yeah, no, I know, you're funny, man. Yeah, I got it. It's like, yeah, you're a funny guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting, all of us being at different stages in, like, playing our musical careers or whatever, you know, from, like, never having been on stage to, you know, in Sawhawk's case, having been on stage but not
stand-up comic.
Yeah, and like, but being a front man and, like, you know, using his voice in a different way.
Yeah.
I had not been in a band that was like this sort of like heavy, angular, post-hardcore thing since, you know, the late aughts, just like, you know, like an old post-college band. So it was fun to. It's fun to, like, for me to play like super heavy stuff as opposed to like when I play drums in Lamar as well, which is like not heavy.
No, not at all. It's very it's
heavy.
very different. Both awesome, very different.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Now, if I were to ask now, your anxiety or apprehension or excitement level before you get on stage now, each of you individually, 1 out of 10, 1 being hold my beer, and 10 being I'll be right back. What would you put it at?
Do you get nervous?
Not really.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, not really.
Not
I'm
really.
usually more worried that I'm like forgetting something, like, or my pedal knobs tuned
Yeah.
in the right. Did I get a beer to make sure I have one?
You're is somebody holding my beer near me?
Yeah. But yeah, it's mostly like stuff like that. But not really nervous at all.
No, it's fun now. I don't think I
Yeah.
look like it's fun, but I enjoy it.
We're still working on the stage presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, most of the shows we're playing, it's like you at least know half the people in the crowd, so
Yeah.
you're not really feeling nervous.
And for bands who might be listening, you mentioned the 331. There are some great places to play if you've never played before online. Places you'd recommend?
Yeah, I mean, we play 331 a lot. Our album release which is on April 11th at Zora Darling.
Yes.
We play there a lot. They're good friends of ours.
Yeah.
We played Cloudland not too long ago. It was our
Yeah.
first time playing there. Cloudland
Love
is
that
great.
place,
Yeah, awesome. We haven't played. Someone was talking about Mort's earlier. We haven't played Palmer's in a while, but that's a fun
that's
show.
fun. Palmer's is fun depending on the situation. Sometimes, like
Oh, yeah.
We played Palmer's 2 or 3 times.
at least three times. Yeah.
And I think every time that we were supposed to play, it was scheduled to play outside. And
And
we
we
were
ended up.
We've never played. Well, that's not true. We have played outside once, but every Palmer show was intended to be outdoors, and it has rained every single time.
Yeah. So we ended up being inside, and fitting 5 grown adults on that stage is not always the easiest. But the thing that's Andrew will just be on the floor, and it's actually pretty fun to have him kind of walk around and scream in people's faces and stuff like that.
And it's still cramped on stage, even with.
Oh yeah, just with the 4 of us up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially with drum. I mean, I can only imagine.
Yeah. But like I said, that stage is fun. Like, we're just all cramped in there. Yeah.
Always sounds fantastic though. Sound person Tom is awesome.
I love how you're directing the
I like that.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
But
it.
for people who can't see, we have 2 mics, one on each side of the desk here, and then there's a lot of sharing, a lot of closeness, which is good. Yeah. So tell us more about the upcoming show. You've got some bands playing with you.
Yeah,
the
so,
times, the places. You mentioned, but
I
sorry,
think
darling.
doors at 7, show 7:30. I want to
That's
say.
what they usually do there. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's 3 other bands on the bill. Tender Comrades opening up the show.
And Tender Comrade, their singer, guitarist, Noel Tate.
Actually recorded the record for us and
Nice.
He's a friend of
co-produced
ours.
it with us. So yeah, so we're excited to have them on. And then Battery Eyes, they're a 3-piece punk band.
Who I think we've probably played with more than any other band.
No,
Maybe.
we just are so close with them.
Yeah,
It
they're
feels-
like
We've only played with them like 2 or 3 times.
they're like our
We
brothers
talk about it a lot.
in a band sense.
And we hang out at shows a lot.
Yeah. But we love them. And then and they have a new record that they're finishing up as well, so we're excited to hear that.
Yeah.
And then Lovely Dark is playing as well, and we played with them a couple times, and yeah, I mean, they're great folks.
Yeah.
Lots. It's becoming a super group at this point, between some of the original members and then some folks from Self Evident have come back. Brian Lake from Curve and Buildings is in it. So yeah.
They have some amazing art.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's how I always think of. I mean, I like the music, but just the art is so striking.
Absolutely.
It's-
Yeah.
Lovely Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Travis does all of that, I think.
Yeah.
Their aesthetic is
Well,
quality.
very.
The whole thing is
very
good.
cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's all a bunch of friends of ours, at like our friend's bar. It should be a great hang.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's our album release show, which we were talking about before we went on air, that we got to go to Copycats and see them pressing the record, and like that was really fun. Our buddy Brad, who's helping us out with that record, they gave us a tour, and getting to see the actual record
Come
right off the
Yeah.
press
It was very
is
cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
We are very lucky here in Minnesota that we've got Copycats pressing vinyl. I mean, even just the turnaround on it is great.
Yeah.
They make the whole process not very unstressful, And then being able to go see it actually produced was kind of like the icing on the cake,
And we were talking last week with Dash a little bit about how just the whole music scene in the Twin Cities. You can, from soup to nuts to soup. What is the saying?
Soup to nuts,
soup to nuts. Yeah, I mean, you can just get anything you need, which is awesome because I think that builds a community where if you know the person who is pressed in the album, you learn things that might make a difference in how you're going to do the next album.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some cool science stuff that we learned too, being at the plant,
of how it's made.
Yeah, and they have to bake the label, the center sticker that goes on the actual vinyl. They have to bake it for 48 hours to suck all the moisture out of the paper.
Really?
So that it will adhere when it actually gets
there's
pressed.
no actual adhesive. It just
And it's just the heat from
Hot
the
rock.
press against this paper that's been dehydrated basically for 2 days.
Yeah,
So
crazy.
super interesting stuff.
Copycats for all your print and media.
Right,
needs.
right. Well, not.
Sponsored.
I was just gonna say we'll save this clip for you for sure.
Yeah.
Should we listen to some more music?
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right. What would you like us to play?
Should we play Feral Joy?
Yeah.
Feral Joy.
Feral Joy by Unstable Shapes in studio. But recorded.
Should
Do
we?
you want to do the same thing and do 2 in
Yeah.
a row again?
And then because we're getting close to.
When do you want us to? When do you wrap?
Probably go another 15 minutes or so. 10-15 minutes. Is that?
Yeah, play one
Yeah.
more song and then we'll
Yeah.
wrap up. And,
I can hear somebody came in, which doesn't necessarily mean anything.
you want to do Bones after this?
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've been selected to become Bones. Right?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
forget
you
the
I-
can
was-
say you can say the name of the Sorry, I guess it
Selected or
says
chosen?
you've been selected.
You're gonna have to explain the title of that because that was something your nephew said or something.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't remember any of the details of this anymore.
All right.
I appreciate the setup there, but
I
yeah.
feel like you had a picture.
He was coloring something and then he'd written it on. I don't know. It makes him seem real demonic. I don't think that's what was going on. But it was super weird. And then we had practice the next day or something. And I was like, my nephew wrote the weirdest thing in this drawing you made me.
That's funny.
And I'd forgotten about it, and then we wrote this song, and Sahak told us the name, and I was like, what is that from? He's like, dude, your nephew said that. I was like, he did? When did I tell you that? I don't know. Yeah.
That's funny.
I guess maybe that was enough to tell the story.
Well, now you might have to tell it again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh,
We'll
man.
see.
What's this one called originally? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. Everything has a placeholder name for a while.
Because I write a riff and then I write the date usually.
Yeah.
Just whatever date riff.
Yeah.
And then eventually I might pitch it and that gets maybe a working title. That is a varying degrees of seriousness.
Yeah. Well, and we also, because I was saying earlier, it's not like a songwriter band where there's a verse chorus. So sometimes we'll be when we're writing a song, we'll have to chalkboard it out. We'll be okay, we'll do verse riff 4 times and then someone inevitably will be like, wait, which is the verse riff again? Which is the chorus? And I was guys, just we need to call it A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
But you still. Clearly the songs have verses, choruses, bridges, but
also our parts vary in length, and that's always an issue. It's
Yeah.
one of mine is 2 of yours.
Yeah.
Just translating all that.
Fair Bones.
Yeah,
you've been selected to become Bones.
That of course is the title, but I know what you said. I was like,
Yeah,
Just type 9.
pretty. It's pretty far along in the record.
Yeah. As it goes back up as Sphinx
This was the last song we wrote before
before we were done. Yeah.
oh, the order that it's in that you sent is the penultimate. Is the second to the last.
Yeah.
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 I did a 5-question email interview with Dan Murphy about the latest Scarlet Goodbye, and I was like, oh, it's such an interesting choice of song order. He's like, oh my god, they did it wrong.
Oh.
Not on the album, but on whatever he sent it to me, and I was like,
sure.
oh, well, you can make up your own question there, Dan. Luckily, I knew each other well enough to be like, oh, just...
What's the date today?
29th.
I can see this band at which band I played in.
Ooh.
They're called Imperial Triumphant. They're like they're a metal band, yeah. But they do they wear
Like robes and stuff.
like robes and
Oh.
shit. Yeah, you knew exactly.
Sure, they have they have a specific font that they have to
Oh,
use and all
man.
that.
I'm just imagining like the
Nothing wrong with that.
Imperial
This is great.
No.
Or-
Yeah, like they just like that.
Oh yeah. What was that band we were talking about the other day at practice too?
Okay.
Yeah,
That
it's like-
reminds me of Magic Sword.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. A little
Really, really cool band, but yeah, they're doing that whole
I mean, those are
sa-
cool
very,
masks.
very
Yeah.
satanic
Yeah.
ish. But yeah, their new record's sick. The guy's total shredder. I just gotta figure out when they play.
Too many riffs.
I mean,
We can talk about that on air if you want. But argue that when Mitch wrote this song and we were trying to figure it out, and frankly, I was struggling to figure out drum parts to everything. I was like, this song has too many riffs. There's just too much going on. And I was very incredulous about it. And now the song is done. We didn't cut any riffs, and we love it. And he'll always be like, or I'll send a song that maybe I like from some other band, and he'll reply, I don't know, it sounds like it's got too many riffs. I'm like, dude, yep.
It's called
It's an old comedy trick, you know? Never one to let things go.
None of us
never.
No, no.
You've been selected to become Bones by Unstable Shape, who are in studio. 3 of them are in studio.
Yeah, James, you want to talk about this?
I know. Could you? Yeah, let's hear about that title.
Well- Well, no. What we were saying before though is that when Mitch wrote the song or showed up with all the riffs, I frankly was struggling to figure out drums to all of it, and in a very incredulous state, was there's too many riffs to this song. There's too much going on. Now the song is done. We love it. We ended up not cutting anything, and Mitch loves to remind me of the song having too many riffs. Yeah.
I think you two both tend to do this where you're because you even did this recently with the newer song that we're writing. It's I don't think I like these parts anymore, and then we'll mess around with it at practice and change the length of things. And he's like, yeah, it was right the first time. It's okay, I'm so glad we spent an hour messing around on this.
Oh, I've worked with you before.
I think that we also all do that because with that song, the amount of times that we do each part, I initially came with that number and someone was like, oh, we need to do this 6 times and this 3 times. This is too long here, this is too short here. And we tried it and it sucked and we went back to the original version. Everybody does this.
Yeah.
Once per song, somebody wants to rearrange things and then we go back.
Well, yeah. I mean, because we're not it's not a songwriter type band where someone's showing up with a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a bridge. ABC. When we're writing out songs, we very much have to do the dry erase board, like writing out each riff and how many times we're doing it. And inevitably someone will write, verse 4 times, and then someone's like, wait, which is the verse part? What do we, or, yeah, and for Sawhawk, it's helpful with like writing his lyrics to know like some semblance of a structure. And, obviously if you listen to the songs, there are clearly verses, choruses.
Yes.
It's still
Yeah.
rock and roll, right? But when we're starting with the riffs, like Mitch might come with something that he thinks is a verse, let's say, and then it later ends up becoming something different, right? Which is because we picked the songs apart, which is because we're probably obsessive and,
No.
or don't want to, or don't want to accept it, or don't want to accept that something is done or perfect in its, original form, right? Like you don't want to just like
Yeah.
We record a lot of the songs too, which I think you were talking about earlier, and I'll go home and listen to my drums and be like, well, that was a really dumb beat, why would I do that? Like I can do something better, like picking them apart, which is great, like especially for a few folks who haven't been in bands like this, or like to be able to, like I think you were saying earlier too, it's like the sometimes like the criticism and the self-criticism that's involved, having to say to somebody like I don't like that, or try that differently, or I think this could be better this way, like without hurting someone's feelings,
Right. But you're not making a stew. You can't oversalt it. You can always go back. I think that's kind of the beauty of it. That's the luxury of the format.
Yeah. It's Sawhawk Andrew at one point had said something about like like we the band like make a cake, and then he comes in and like puts the icing on it, and the balance. We've like figured out how to make the cake delicious and what to cut, too much salt, not enough sugar, whatever, and then he comes in and has to put icing on it, these lyrics, and not put too much, right? And
right.
make the song like not as palatable anymore, like whatever. He makes it delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
It is a delicious blend.
Thanks.
Yes. Sometimes I like this, especially you kind of say noisy post noise, and I used to listen to a lot of noise music, because I like things that the song that I hear first, I'm like, oh, I love that song. I'm going to get bored with that in about a day. But songs that I'm like, too many riffs. I mean, but that's the one I'm listening to 2 weeks later.
Well, I think it's great too. Like I think a lot of the bands that we're probably the most influenced by, we were probably too young to really enjoy them in their heyday, and a lot of those bands are touring again. I'm thinking of like an Unwound or Jesus Lizard maybe.
Yeah.
Or there's like lots of bands in the genre that are having stuff like reissued, and like I'm thinking of like Numero Group is like reissuing lots of like old emo and screamo bands. So there's just like a lot of the music that like we were into or influenced by, there's just a lot of it out there to like reference, right? And it's having like another moment, that like post noisy, post hardcore, whatever.
It's good music to listen to for the time that we're in.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean,
I would agree with that.
it's loud. It's a little angry. I mean, it's good.
I think it's anxious. A lot of it's very
Yeah.
anxious.
I mean, a lot of those bands were coming out of the Reagan years,
Yep.
and it was the Bush years and Desert Storm and all
Yep.
that. Like,
Yep.
the world was, probably felt as chaotic and unwound, no pun intended, as it does now, right? Yeah.
No,
And it seems like it's run by Jesus Lizard.
there you go. I think you nailed it. On that note,
Yeah.
I think it's very much true. It's very much a soundtrack for the era that we're.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah,
if
I
you guys
think-
could write happier songs, maybe that would turn it around.
We
If only you had the
we'll
power.
work on
If
that,
only,
probably.
if only you
Yeah.
had that power.
Yeah.
Will you remind folks where you're playing, when you're playing, all of that good stuff?
April 11th at Zora Darling.
That's the release show. We got a couple shows after that too.
I don't remember the dates for those.
I think May 5th is also at Zora Darling.
It's May 2nd, actually.
May 2nd.
I guess I
You're
did.
right. Thank you. Yes. May 22nd with Season to Risk and our buddies Upright Forms, who are also from here.
Oh, and
yes.
then Caterwall.
Yep, and then we're playing Caterwall on
Sunday.
the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend,
It's-
whatever date that is.
Some of us are in Las Vegas that weekend, but
Oh, you're
Punk
missing
Rock
Caterwall.
Bowling.
Oh,
Punk Rock
yeah.
Bowling. Yes, yes.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
the 26th, maybe.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that day that we're playing, stacked lineup, Piss Jeans and Buildings Reunion,
Yeah.
Lungs. Is it Long or Lungs? I can never remember. Long.
So
I know why we
Tony
leave you hanging for
Neutron,
that.
yeah,
I should
yeah.
say it
So
then.
many band names.
The one that's not from here. The one that has a cellist.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. I can't remember
Oh,
if that's
well.
singular or not, but
gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you for
Yeah.
having
Do you have a song you want us to play last? We'll play your way
all the
out.
songs that we have out.
Okay,
Yeah.
then. All right.
We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, and we will look forward to the show at Zara Darling on April 11th. Should we play some? We're gonna play. I'll just remind folks they're listening to Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 in St. Paul. And what are we gonna play?
Colors by Grandma's Boyfriend.
Great band.
Yes.